When we think of moving abroad to France, many of us associate it with things like living a dreamy life full of travel, effortlessly picking up the French language, making tons of French friends, and escaping everything we hated about wherever we lived before. And it seems like life in France is thought of as a golden ticket of sorts and is a cure for everything that ailed us back home. But the reality of life abroad is not all sunshine and rainbows. That's just not real life, and it's not for everyone. And I call BS on anyone who says otherwise. Bonjour tout le monde, welcome, bienvenue. This is We in France. And if you're looking for a quick video with bullet points on a light topic today, this is not it. So go check my video catalog. Pick another fun video on cultural comparison if you want to keep it light, maybe a grocery store tour. But if you want some real talk on a topic that I feel super passionate about, pour yourself a nice beverage, get comfy in a nice chair, and let's talk. All right, now let me start off by saying I have absolutely zero regrets about moving to France. I think it's one of my best life decisions. And, have there been challenging times? For sure. Do I miss things from home? Yes, I've told you about them here. Have I doubted myself? Absolutely. And do I think about what my life could have been back in New York City? Sometimes, yeah. And have I had bad days? Yeah, lots. But when I have a calm, clear head and I really get real with myself and I think about the past decade or so that I've been here in France, have I seriously ever regretted the move? And my honest answer is no. Not for a second. If I had realized that life in France was not for me at some point along the way, I'd like to think that I would have moved somewhere else a long time ago. And I'm the first to say the pros outweigh the cons. And until that changes, you know where to find me. Now, that aside, the reason I'm making this video today is because it's always been important to me here on this channel and over on my blog to show that living abroad is not always perfect. And that's because life isn't perfect. If you're on this planet long enough, you're going to experience challenging times, you're going to struggle. Living abroad does not make you immune to the more difficult things we go through as human beings, wherever we live. And quite frankly, I am so over content that always paints life abroad as a constant highlight reel. I don't think we're doing any of our fellow humans a favor with that type of content all the time. So if you're thinking about moving abroad to France or anywhere, this applies, in general, I want to make sure you're researching your move with your eyes wide open. I think it's really easy to plug your ears and be like, la, 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 in the face of anyone who wants to have a more nuanced conversation of life abroad and the challenges you might face. People just don't want to hear it, right? But I urge you to open your ears and your mind just to what I have to say here today, because you're only going to be better prepared after having conversations like the one we're going to have today. And that's the whole point of my channel, to make you more prepared, to educate yourself. And I just want to say one thing to remember is that what we see on social media about living abroad, or anything really, it skews positive, because people who hate living abroad and are struggling, they don't start YouTube channels and TikTok and all that to talk about their life. People judge even on your best day. They criticize, they make us feel worse than what we already feel when we're lower than low. And that is exactly why the majority of content we see out on the internet is from people who genuinely enjoy their living abroad experience. That's what we hear the loudest, and it makes it seem like living abroad is the answer to a happy life. And maybe more importantly, if we're not 100% happy all of the time, that we've somehow failed at this whole living abroad thing. And both are damaging mindsets. There's definitely a bias I've noticed toward painting life abroad with this positive, happy brush. And I do show all the positives time and time again. I love making that content because it's real life, but that should also never be at the expense of glossing over the reality, the harder times, and the struggles. And I wouldn't be doing the living abroad experience any justice at all if all I did was sing France's praises without leaving room for anything else. I don't work for tourism agencies. I don't have any skin in the game when it comes to whether or not you visit France, whether you move here. I don't work for any of those companies. I work for you, the We in France community, and I just want you to be prepared. The reality is that life can be hard sometimes, and I don't think I truly realized this till my mom got sick with cancer in my early 30s. Living abroad adds that additional layer of challenges to life's problems. No one is happy all the time with everything, certainly not when you live abroad either. If you're thinking of living abroad in France or elsewhere long term, I think it is so important for you to seek out content that provides a nuanced view and to go a step further beyond the baguettes and the, skipping along with your wicker basket. Seek out content from people who don't enjoy living abroad, never did. Seek out people who maybe have moved on from France. They moved somewhere else or they moved back to their home country. It might not be pleasant, but I think it'll give you a more well-rounded picture of things. Living in France is not for everyone, and that is okay. I'll shout it from the rooftops. There is no singular right way to live. People who stay close to home, they aren't any better or worse off than those of us who move far away or really far away. And we all face challenges. We all struggle, and there's no judgment. I think we're all, as humans, just doing the best we can. Now, if you are considering a move abroad, I know it's easy to want to stay positive, only look at that romanticized, amazing content that validates your decision to move abroad. I did it. I still look at that stuff. But I'd argue it's even more important to be aware of the possible challenges you'll face. You'll either realize you may not be compatible with life abroad, or you'll be better prepared to deal with those challenges that arise because they won't catch you by surprise. And I also want to be clear about something else. This video is not meant to deter you from pursuing a life abroad in France or elsewhere. So if you feel a tiny bit defensive listening to me speak right now, just take a step back. I'm definitely not trying to crush any dreams. I'm trying to just get you to open your eyes at least wide enough to make an informed decision and to be better prepared. You might be like, well, why? Why do you care? I care because I get emails and DMs, not to mention all the YouTube comments I see from people who have this romanticized, untrue version of France. Their head's in the clouds and they don't have any clue about what it takes to move abroad to France or what it could be like. And I'm not talking about the logistical stuff that's straightforward, the nuts and bolts of moving abroad, your visa, moving your belongings, but people who are ready to move abroad without considering the emotional aspects of doing so and have done very little research beyond, that vacation honeymoon period. So many of these people, and I hear from them weekly, they believe misconceptions. That's why I did a video like this. And they are not familiar with what France is really like. It's real life. And I just hope you understand where I'm coming from with this video. So with that, I want to mention some not so great aspects of moving abroad. And yeah, they apply to France and elsewhere. So in my experience, people will not always understand your motivations to move abroad. Some people, even your family, friends, they'll be happy for you, but others will feel sad, jealous, hurt, left behind in some cases, or even angry. And they won't have any qualms about telling you as much. All I can say is that you know what's right for you. You have to live your life for yourself. It is too short to let others hold you back, but these feelings can kind of catch you by surprise. Next, you will lose people you never thought you'd lose. Relationships change with time, with distance. Loved ones pass away. And no, this isn't specific to living abroad, but it is something that those of us who do choose to live abroad seem to deal with a whole heck of a lot. Being so far away from everyone we used to know and see often can be a strain to even a healthy relationship, and it could dissolve a less strong one entirely. So you learn right away who your real friends and family are. And of course, this goes both ways. We need to make an effort to keep in touch with people back home just as much as they make an effort with us. Next, some people do not do well with change. And if you've never tried to change something major in your life, you won't know till you do it. And if you're super set in your ways, your routine, you have a tight-knit professional and personal network back home, adjusting to life abroad can be brutal. The same goes for type A personalities who are used to being in control. They're used to being on top of things and feeling like they've got this. And all of that goes out the window once you move. And you sometimes feel like a 5-year-old in an adult body, with the language and just adapting to the culture. And the first few years, they can be tough because you just need to come to terms with feeling like a fish out of water. And that can be uncomfortable if you've never experienced it. Also, you're going to have bad days. You're going to feel out of place. You're going to feel dumb for not knowing how to do basic tasks. And you'll feel kind of in limbo and you'll question your decision. You'll also get frustrated with the language. Loneliness might creep in. And your emotions can kind of feel like they're on a roller coaster in the early days, but that is all normal. I just want you to be prepared for it. All right, another big one. You will miss things from back home. You'll miss your loved ones. You'll miss the milestones and the parties and the birthdays, the holidays, all of that stuff that you didn't really think mattered that much until you're not there for it anymore. You'll see people move forward without you, people get older, and you'll do the same without them. But, listen to that again. Really hear what I'm saying. If after hearing that list, you're thinking, nah, Diane, not me, I'll be fine, it's gonna be great, I'm not gonna have any issues, and you're like anxiously clicking over to Air France to buy your one-way ticket, I think you're being a little naive with that. I think you are going to have a great time. That's life. We have great times too, but we need to look at the flip side. And your strength isn't thinking that you won't have any bad days abroad. What it is accepting that things will be hard at some point and learning how to be resilient enough to overcome those obstacles. That is key. So take a second to put on the brakes, really think about it. If you live abroad long enough, if I can stress anything here, you will face challenges. So take time to consider, how are you going to deal with them? How are you going to deal with things you've never experienced in your home culture, in your home language? Are you ready to deal with them in a language and a culture that's not your own? How will you adapt? And again, that's not to say don't move. That is not what I'm saying. But I am saying to think about your motivations. Think about what you're looking for in life. Prepare yourself for all of that ahead of time. And never underestimate the weight that these challenges may have on you, especially when you're not in the best mindset, when you're not in the comfort of your own country, your own practices, language, and culture. I can't underline that enough. Now, something I like to remind myself of is that two things can be true at the exact same time. You can love your life abroad. You can know it was the best choice for you and still struggle sometimes. It doesn't mean you've done something wrong. Doesn't mean moving abroad was a mistake. And just personally speaking, losing my mom, I've told you about that here on the channel. Losing her was one of the most difficult human experiences I've ever gone through. You know, watching someone you love waste away from cancer is hard regardless. But when other loved ones died around the same time, and then add to the fact that I was so far away from my family and that it was COVID times, I couldn't leave France, long story short. But yeah, that all adds an additional layer of challenges. But I'm so grateful that all of that aside, I did get to see my mom before she passed away. And I'm forever grateful for that. And also let me be clear that none of life's problems are France's fault. I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying that. But you're tackling them through the lens of a different culture, different language, and a different life situation, and that can feel insurmountable. That's not easy. Just to give you some more personal examples, here are some things just off the top of my head that have not made the highlight reel on my Instagram. Some of these things I haven't talked about on the channel. But like I said, losing multiple loved ones in a short period of time and being scared of losing even more people. Feeling anxiety for the first time in my life, losing a bit of innocence and realizing that life can be really tough and wondering if your best days are behind you. Being consumed by so much grief that you're scared you won't ever go back to normal. Workplace drama, wondering if family members' health conditions will ever improve. Family drama, being on the receiving end of verbal abuse from doctors with giant egos. Being scammed online out of a couple €100. And one that was just so weird, being aggressively pulled, like physically touched and pulled into a back room and confronted by a store manager who didn't like me recording video clips in his store. Although I wasn't bothering anyone, I was just filming something in front of me, not even speaking. He thought I was a spy for a competitor. Paranoid much, my dude? Yeah, what else? Losing friends. Being used by people who take advantage of your kind and generous nature. Feeling isolated. It doesn't make you stronger, it makes you lonely. Family problems. That just reminds you that your inner circle is getting smaller. And that's the short list. And for the record, none of this stuff happened all at once. I'm okay. Anything I share here is always shared after I had time to process it and work through my feelings. So I'm not looking for pity or sympathy. You don't need to comment with anything like that. I'm just trying to be transparent and to say that, life still happens even if you live in, what people consider a great place to live. And none of those things have destroyed me. They haven't dimmed my spirit permanently or become my norm. I don't want this to sound doom and gloom because that is not who I am and that is not what this video is. But it is real life and it wouldn't feel authentic to me to gloss over some of those harder times. So I hope it was okay for me to share some of that stuff with you. And if you haven't guessed it, I am passionate about making videos like this because I wasn't as prepared as I should have been before moving to France. I really wasn't. Like, honestly, how can anyone fully prepare for one of the biggest life changes a human can possibly make? In retrospect, I have to give myself grace as a naive 20-something. I'm glad she didn't know then about the hard times ahead, but still, I definitely feel I could have taken off my rose-colored glasses a little bit more and looked into the stuff I said for you to look into, people who aren't having a great time abroad and why. And I want you to do better. I want you to examine your decision to move abroad and understand what it could look like. Not because it's necessarily the wrong choice, but because it's a huge undertaking. So I just hope my content here on my channel, or if you read my blog, my newsletter, which is free and linked below, by the way, I just hope it's given you food for thought. And in all honesty, if I knew then what I know now, I'd still have moved abroad here to France, but I would have done more research. I would have worked on myself before, so I would have been a more confident, prepared version of myself who felt a little bit more self-assured and capable right out of the gate. And yeah, I just hope you hear what I'm saying here. I hope you get my message. I've expressed myself clearly. I know it's kind of heavy, but I just want you to do your research, consume that content you've avoided that talks about the hard stuff, that talks about the bad days. Listen to that person who seems to complain a lot, who seems to be struggling. It won't talk you out of a move if it's meant to be. It'll just, again, make you a more well-rounded and resilient foreigner abroad. And we should all strive to be that. And by doing so, you're going to have fewer culture shock moments. You're going to know what to expect. You're going to have fewer bad days. What the F moments. I mean, you're still going to have some of those, but you're not going to have as many panic attacks or tearful moments of regret or doubt and all that stuff. Despite all of that, moving abroad was the right choice for me, and it's one of the best life decisions I've ever made. I've had amazing experiences in France that I wouldn't trade for the world, and I've made it through the hard times. I'm still here. And you will too, I'm sure of that. You're going to make it through. As you settle into life abroad, wherever that is, you'll start to rack up a bunch of little moments that make you smile. You'll make new friends, you'll have new experiences, and discover new ways of seeing the world, and that becomes your home. It becomes your norm. And there's that shift that happens little by little. You'll miss it if you're not paying attention, but you'll be a better person for all of that. And maybe most of all, you're going to want to have a support system, friends, family, I have food and shelter, a purpose, a way to earn a living, and a good head on my shoulders, I think. And that all counts for a lot. So work on those things. I know you'll do just fine too. Like I said, I'm still here. So I want to send you love, a big virtual hug. And with that, I'm going to leave it here for today. I want to know down below in the comments if anything I've said resonated with you, if you can relate to anything, what's been your experience abroad or where you are in the process of maybe considering it or not. Yeah, let me leave it there, and I'll see you back on We in France soon. Salut!